Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. This is First Warren Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. A lot to talk about this week, a crazy week of weather ahead. And probably the one thing that's sticking on people's mind is this chance of snow. And I blogged about this last night. This storm that's coming in Wednesday night into Thursday really does pose some pretty significant possibilities for a decent snow. But as always the case in the Carolinas, it's another borderline event. Let me show you what's going on right now. We'll get into the details here. We've got some rain today moving through to the east. The bigger story is we've got another shot of colder air coming in. Now, this is not as cold as the last blast last week, but for this time of year, this is still really cold air. We'll be about 10 to 15 degrees below average most of this week. Even today, the temperature's been falling pretty quickly. We actually were in the upper 40s not too long ago. We've actually fallen back to 44 in Charlotte. In the mountains, temperatures are already in the upper 20s, but there is rain that is moving off to the north and east pretty quickly. I'm going to loop this a couple times, and you can see that moisture kind of riding off to the east. What I'm really watching is the system over Texas. This is going to slide in tonight. And this system could clip us with a little bit of snow or sleet. You can see there's a lot of precipitation here across parts of Oklahoma into Arkansas. And this is going to try to ride along the old Arctic front here. And it might clip us. It's not going to be a huge event, but I'm not going to be shocked if we get some snowflakes later tonight. The bigger story going into Thursday is actually this system, which you can't really tell too well. It's right here over the Four Corners region where you see all the snow reports coming in. And I'm going to start turning off some of the data here to kind of get into showing you what's going on. We'll turn off our surface data here and turn on the western satellite image here. This will give you a much better idea on what's going on off to the west, because I think that's the area we're going to be watching for the possibility of our storm system. And let me see if I can get the western U.S. here. There's our low pressure system. That doesn't look too well. We'll look at the infrared. There it is right there, and it shows up a lot better on the infrared. You can actually see the little swirl right there. But this is our low, which is going to kick down here and be our weather maker. Now, the thing that's interesting about this, it's now over the continental United States, so obviously we're getting some good data from the modeling. We're sampling the atmosphere, but also it's got some cold air with it aloft. I like upper lows interacting with the surface low to give us a decent chance of snow. So let's turn off all this stuff and kind of we'll put on what we call the mesofill, and you can actually see the vorticity associated with that system out to the west. But let me show you how this thing's going to unfold. Well, we're going to look at the NAM, because the NAM's actually been shockingly done pretty well. There's the system moving away from us today, and you can see the system over Texas heading our way later tonight, and you'll notice it is going to clip us with maybe a few flurries. And again, this is overnight tonight into Tuesday morning. We'll go out in the future, and again, it breaks up. Doesn't look real significant. I'm not buying this ice down in South Carolina, though there could be a trace down there. We'll put it into the future. That slides off. Now, our system that we talked about over the Four Corners region, there it is moving into Texas sometime on Tuesday morning early. We're talking like 3, 4 in the morning, and then by 7 a.m. it's down here over the Dallas area with another snowstorm for them. And then here it is. I'll move the map here. You can see it approaching. This is a this is going into Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. We're going into Wednesday evening, 5. Now we're at 7 p.m. Wednesday night, and here we are 11 p.m. Wednesday night, and that's solid snow. And notice there's no mix, which tells you a couple things. There's going to be a fine line between a cold rain down here and snow, maybe some heavy snow to the north as this thing moves off to the east, and we'll go into the overnight hours, and by Thursday morning at 7 a.m. the system's already pulling away off to the coast. So you see there's about a 12-hour window from 7 p.m. Wednesday night until 7 a.m. on Thursday morning where the snow moves across. So how much snow are we talking about? Well, again, we're looking at one model here, folks. We're not looking at the actual forecast yet. I hope to have the forecast map drawn up later today after I look at this. This is the NAM model snowfall, the same period. You can see the swath of snow it brings across. And the one thing you notice, it's pretty much I-85. This stuff down in South Carolina looks a little dubious. One of the things I like to look at often is those Schreff plumes. You probably see me show these. These are the 22 members of the Schreff model, kind of spread out snowfall, and I look for the mean. Where's the average? And right now the average for Charlotte's about 3.5, 4 inches, but it's skewed heavily about these outliers way up here. There's one up here over almost a foot of snow. Not likely. The reason I say that's not likely, there's actually more down here between about a 1 to 2 inch, and actually 3 of them around 0. So if you're going to focus on this one to the top, you better focus on these southern ones or the south ones or the ones at the bottom, I like to say, because zero probability of snow or 0 inches is almost more likely than this 10.99. So the mean down here at 3 is probably a little high, but it's pretty close. So one of the things I also like to look at is the probabilities of heavy snow, and this is the Weather Prediction Center's probability, and notice they have a 40% probability in this green area of at least 4 inches, pretty much along 85 north. That's pretty impressive. That's impressive in and of itself, but look at the probabilities of 8 inches of snow. I'm going to turn these off, and they actually have a 10% probability of 8 inches of snow. So you can see, and this is mainly based off the same thing, the SREF. So you can only read so much into this, but that should tell you something. That's a pretty good probability of snow right now. So if I were to pinpoint a forecast, I think 1 to 2 inches would be my early guess on this, just because I think a lot of this is going to be melting on the way down. And part of the reason I think that is the cold air is coming in almost simultaneously, and to me it looks like the ground temperatures are going to be really marginal, maybe like in the mid 30s. So when it starts to snow, a lot of this will likely melt, but the possibility for a band of heavy snow in there is certainly in there. In fact, if I look at the 700 millibar vertical velocities, there are hints that a deformation zone is going to form in here somewhere as this moves in. And what that is, just in layman's term, that's a band of very heavy snow. We look for an area of intense lift, or frontogenic forcing, we call it. And that's typically where you get bands of heavy snow. So there you are. This is a late Wednesday night into Thursday morning, starting today at 4, 5, and 6 on NBC Charlotte. I'll start breaking this down a little more, and I'll probably draw up at least my first snowfall map, and I'm going to show you those snow probabilities. What I think the chances of a trace, 1, 2, 3, or 4 inches or more are going to be with this system. So stay tuned and make sure you follow me on Facebook and Twitter. I'll keep things up to date throughout the week, just like we did last week. Have a great Monday.